Earlier, she cried when the prosecutor showed a photo of Bella.
We were always happy.
She also shed tears remembering the first time she saw the story on the news that her child had washed ashore on Deer Island.
Then I saw Bella on the news. I dropped to my knees and I was like, that's Bella.
Welcome back. I'm Cassie and this is A Wicked World. Before we get into today's video, I just wanted to remind you to check out A Wicked World on Patreon if you haven't yet. There you'll have access to more than 30 exclusive videos with new ones being added each month. So the story I have for you today is one about a little girl who was discarded into the Atlantic Ocean like she was just trash. And it would take authorities months to figure out exactly who she was and what had happened to her. This is the story of Bella Bond. On the afternoon of June 25th, 2015, a plastic garbage bag washed up on the shoreline of Deer Island near Boston, Massachusetts, just miles away from Logan Airport. Around that same time, a woman was out walking her dog, when suddenly the dog came across the bag and wouldn't leave it alone. Wondering what it was, she bent down to check it out. And what she discovered inside the bag would completely horrify her. It was the decomposed and bloated remains of a child. The body was that of a little girl who was wearing only a pair of white leggings designed with a black polka dot pattern, and she was wrapped up in 2 blankets, including a zebra print one. Authorities estimated that the girl had died within only days of the discovery of her body. However, due to the decomposition rate and the bloating from the water, they were unable to identify who the child was. They weren't even sure of her race or ethnicity, and due to the bloating in her fingers, they weren't even able to obtain fingerprints. It would be determined, however, that the girl was likely white with a possible Hispanic background, and she was somewhere between the ages of 3 and 5 years old. She was estimated to have a height of somewhere between 3 foot 1 inch and 3 foot 6 inches. And she weighed around 30 pounds. The girl also had no distinctive birthmarks or scars, but she did have pierced ears. The clothing that was found on the child, including black and white polka dot leggings, were a size 4T and the brand Circo, which is sold at Target. The zebra blanket that was found with the girl's body was possibly made by the Cannon Mills Company and sold at a Kmart. A hairband was additionally discovered with the body. Given what police found, it looked like whoever this girl was had been well taken care of during her life. So the question was, how did she end up here? After other attempts to identify the body had failed, the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children digitally reconstructed the girl's face. The reconstruction of her image was created by a forensic artist, and it was released on July 2nd, 2015. However, due to its very realistic nature, viewers who saw this on TV were confused and thought it was an actual photograph. The center also digitally enhanced images of the leggings and the blanket that had been found with the child's remains, and they created a poster featuring them on their website. Flyers containing images of the little girl, who was now being called the Deer Island Baby Doe, were distributed. And after weeks of not being able to identify who the child was, billboards were also put up throughout Massachusetts. An autopsy of the girl's body would be conducted on July 3rd. However, it was inconclusive as to what had caused the girl's death. And while authorities suspected foul play on the case, there were no obvious injuries to the body. Tests were also later conducted to determine if there were any toxins, drugs, or alcohol found in the remains, but they all came back negative. Now, police were unsure how the child's remains had washed up on Deer Island that day. The body could have either been placed there or it could have drifted from another location. And if it had been placed in the water at another location and had drifted, police were not sure exactly how far it could have come. It could have come from as far as Canada, they believed. So the United States Coast Guard entered the equation to analyze the currents of the water in the area so they could determine where the bag containing the remains had originated from. Authorities later established that the little girl had been placed at the scene rather than washing in from elsewhere, because her body was not in an advanced enough state of decomposition. A press conference was held asking anyone who may be able to identify the little girl to come forward. But despite the authorities' hopes, no one spoke up and took responsibility for the crime or confirmed who the victim was. There were, however, hundreds of tips submitted over the phone and online, and all of them were looked into. Leads were pursued involving children who had been reported as missing, including some who weren't even from the United States. Some of these potential matches were later located alive. After weeks went by and no one came forward to identify the little girl, police were sure that she was either the child of an illegal immigrant who didn't want to come forward due to fear of deportation, or this little girl had not been killed by a stranger, but rather someone in her own family. After the child's body was discovered, dozens of complete strangers began going to Deer Island to leave flowers, teddy bears, and say prayers for her. It wouldn't be until nearly 3 months after the body had been found that the little girl would finally be identified on September 18, 2015. After a man named Michael Sprinsky came forward, police discovered that the child's name was Bella Bond. This man told police that his friend named Rochelle Bond had actually confided in him and told him that her current boyfriend, who was named Michael McCarthy, had killed her daughter Bella. She also said that she was an accomplice and had helped dispose of the body. Now, Michael Sprinsky had known Rochelle Bond and her boyfriend, Michael McCarthy, for some time now, and he had even lived with the couple for a bit. Apparently, a few days before he had come forward to police, Michael Sprinsky had been walking with Rochelle when she told him that she was glad she was able to stop using drugs. Michael then told her how great that was and said that she might be able to get Bella back, as he was under the impression that Child Protective Services had taken her away months prior. But when Michael said this to Rochelle, it caused her to burst into tears, and she claimed, "I will never see my daughter again." Confused, Michael asked her what she meant, and it was at that point that she confessed that her boyfriend, Michael McCarthy, had killed Bella. Upon hearing this, Michael Sprinsky had then texted Michael McCarthy, who was in the hospital, and he asked him if it was true. Michael McCarthy replied back that Bella was in the care of Child Protective Services. And who was he going to believe? Him or some crackhead? But Michael Sprinsky, along with his sister, who he had informed of the situation, were highly suspicious and decided to contact police.
Mike Sprinsky was homeless and addicted to heroin when Rochelle Bond told him his childhood friend Michael McCarthy killed her 2-year-old daughter Bella. He immediately reached out to Laura. They shared their text messages from that day.
At 12:33, I reported it.
Mike had never heard of Baby Doe, the little girl whose body had washed up on Deer Island, but Laura had.
And then I said to him, "Did you see the pictures of the missing girl? Does it look like her?" And then I told him, put in the search bar, Baby Doe, Deer Island, found on June 25th. And then he said, "That's f***ing her, man. I'm 99% sure." And then he wrote, "Dead serious. I'm crying. That's how serious, Laura. That's her. I'm freaking out."
As soon as I seen that, everything that was going on, it all hit me at once. I was like, wow. I'm like, these two sick, they're animals.
And I was like just calling everybody, someone listen to me, please.
Their tip led police to make the link.
Once authorities received this information, they went over to Rochelle's apartment. There, a state trooper noticed that there was child's clothing laying on the floor, and also noticed that there was zebra-themed items similar to the blanket that they had found with the little girl's body. After returning with a search warrant in hand, police combed through the apartment, and they were able to obtain DNA evidence from a nasal syringe as well as a hairbrush, and they would come back as a positive match for Bella Bond. Now, tips had poured in after the investigators had released the image of Baby Doe, yet no one closest to Bella had come forward to identify her. This was because Rochelle Bond had lied to everyone, including her own family members, as to where her daughter was. Bella's aunt would say that she had never even suspected that Baby Doe was Bella because she didn't think that it looked like her. And I agree. I don't really think the picture looks very much like her either. The aunt also said that she hadn't seen Bella or Rochelle in quite a few months due to Rochelle's anger issues. On top of that, Bella's maternal grandmother wasn't even aware that the little girl had been born. When police had executed the search warrant on Rochelle's Dorchester apartment, the 40-year-old had actually snuck out the back window, and she would claim that this wasn't because she wanted to just avoid police and their questioning. It was because she actually wanted to tell Bella's biological father, Joe Amoroso, what had happened first. She, however, would end up being found and arrested, then charged with accessory after the fact. The day after they searched the apartment on September 18th, police would also arrest Michael McCarthy and charge him with murder. So sweet 2-year-old Bella Nevaeh Amoroso Bond had been born on August 6, 2012, to her mother Rochelle Bond and her father Joseph Amoroso. She was the caring and happy girl who was also very smart and quick to learn new things. Bella knew how to make pizza, loved listening to music, and she also loved anything Hello Kitty. But the little girl's mother, Rochelle, had long struggled with drug addiction problems. She had multiple drug offense-related charges, and in 2010 and 2011 had been arrested for prostitution. Rochelle also had at least 12 other offenses on her record as well, and had been living off state benefits for 13 years prior to Bella even being born. Additionally, Rochelle had 2 other children, but they had both been taken away from her, and she had her parental rights terminated in 2001 and in 2006. Both of these children had gone to live with Rochelle's mother after. Then, around the time that Rochelle found out she was pregnant with Bella, she was incarcerated again for a few months. And after she gave birth to her daughter, she would be discharged from the hospital, and they were placed into a family shelter where they received services from a home visiting program up until May of 2013, when Rochelle's probation ended. The Department of Children and Families had also been in contact with Rochelle twice during Bella's life. Once in 2012 and once in 2013, both involving suspected neglect. However, each time, the case was closed out within only 45 days of it being opened. So needless to say, Rochelle had not proved herself to be a fit mother, and likely should not have been given the chance to be a mother again when Bella was born. Now, Bella's biological father, Joe, wasn't really in her life, and he had never met his daughter. He had spoken to her on the phone a few times, however. He had just never met her in person. Joe and Rochelle had both been actively using drugs together at the time that Bella was conceived. His drug of choice was crack cocaine, hers heroin. And at the time that his daughter had died, Joe would say that he was working on trying to get his life back together for his daughter. About a month after the second child services case was closed, around Bella's first birthday in August of 2013, Rochelle and Bella moved to an apartment on Maxwell Street in Dorchester. Here, Rochelle decorated her daughter's room with a jungle theme, including her daughter's favorite animal, monkeys. Neighbors and friends would say that Rochelle finally seemed determined to stay clean and better her life for her and Bella. In their new place, the mother and daughter would frequently sing country music together while dancing around. They would say grace at meals, and Rochelle would even frequently post pictures of her with her little girl.
Go ahead. Happy birthday! Happy birthday, Val! Yeah! Just pull it over. She's like, what the fuck, that's too much. There you go. Happy birthday, Val! Silly string, get it off.
Yeah.
Wait. Don't turn too much so I can get it off. It smells like aerosol, that's what it does. Come on, ball, monkey. We got it all off. Walk through it. Come on. Walk through it. Come on, monkey. Look what Mom did. Look what Mama did while you were sleeping. Look at the house. Look. Happy birthday. Look at Belle. Look on the table. Oh my God. What is that? Ooh. What's that, Bella? What did Mama and Aunt Shannon do while you were sleeping? That's for you. Come on, let's go. Let's go look. Come on, let's go. Me and Aunt Shannon did this. Come on. Bella, come on, let's go look. You want to see it? Come on, monkey. Monkey, look. Look at the table, monkey. Look it. Oh my God, look at the table. Isn't that beautiful? Look what Mama and Auntie Shannon did. Oh, look at that. Isn't that awesome? Isn't that awesome? Happy second birthday, monkey! Bella, happy second birthday, monkey! Yay! Yay! Happy second birthday! Woo!
Then, at the beginning of 2015, the mother met and began dating a man named Michael McCarthy. She found him charming for some reason and would let him move in with her and Bella. She claimed that Michael was good to her daughter and sometimes would even overindulge her. But then, not long after Michael moved in, Rochelle would stop posting updates to her social media account. Now, the mother should never have been under the impression that Michael living with her and her daughter was a good thing, because not only was he a drug addict, but he was also prone to bizarre outbursts and was obsessed with demons. And it wouldn't be long until neighbors reported hearing Bella crying through the walls on a regular basis. The witness who had come forward to identify Bella, Michael Sprinsky, said that he had lived with the couple for quite some time. And when he had noticed escalating abuse towards Bella. In spring of 2015, the couple had locked the little girl in a closet while she screamed. According to Michael Sprinsky, both Rochelle and Michael McCarthy believed that the toddler was possessed by demons. According to him, the couple had been very interested in the occult lately, and he claimed that he eventually ended up moving out of the apartment because of their treatment of Bella. When authorities spoke with Rochelle following her arrest, she told them that on the day that her daughter had died, it was only one of many abusive occasions that had happened after Bella became uncooperative about going to bed. It had happened one night in late May of 2015, around 11:30 p.m., when Bella became extremely uncooperative and refused to go to bed for the night. Michael McCarthy, who was in Bella's room with Rochelle, told his girlfriend to not worry about it. He would handle it. So Rochelle left the room, and shortly after, she would hear Bella's screaming stop. When she went back into her daughter's room to check on things, she saw her boyfriend Michael standing over her daughter. She would also later say that she saw him delivering blows to the girl's abdomen. And right after, Bella's head appeared to be swollen and gray. But even though the state medical examiner had found bruising on the girl's arms, thighs, and abdomen, he did not find any conclusive evidence that Bella had died from a punch to her stomach. Her cause of death is still unknown. Following this attack, it was apparent to Rochelle that her daughter was dead. However, Michael McCarthy didn't seem to care, and he turned to Rochelle and said, "She was a demon anyway. It was her time to die." Rochelle would later claim that she had then picked up her daughter in order to leave, but Michael had grabbed her by the throat with both of his hands and threatened to kill her if she went anywhere or said anything. Rochelle then said that she blacked out and later woke up on the living room couch. That night, and for the next week, Rochelle claimed that her boyfriend Michael injected her in the neck with heroin to sedate her. He also, according to Rochelle, had wrapped up her daughter's body in a plastic trash bag, then stuck her in the fridge. And cadaver dogs would later alert to the fridge's handle. Rochelle would then claim that over the next week, Michael continued to inject her with drugs in order to keep her calm and cooperative. She said this happened up to 7 times every day. Then, a few days after Bella's death, Michael brought Rochelle out to his car. In the back seat, she saw a green duffel bag that she believed contained her daughter's body. The two had then driven to Boston Harbor, where Rochelle claims they dumped Bella.
Mike was stunned when he learned during the trial that Bella's body had been originally dumped in a trash bag in the water near the Edison plant in South Boston. They brought me to the place right near where the Sprinskys and Michael McCarthy grew up.
This is significant. As a teenager, me, Mike, a lot of other people used to come down here and drink. I spent a lot of childhood and teenage years down here.
When you heard this is where her body was dumped, what went through your mind?
Shock and disgust. The way that was done is unimaginable, and they deserve every bad thing that's coming to them.
And even though Rochelle claimed that her boyfriend forced her into doing all of this, she still continued to stay with him for the next few months. In September, Joe Amoroso, Bella's biological father, had shown up at Rochelle's apartment to meet the daughter whom he had never known. But Rochelle would tell him that she was at her godparents' at the time. And according to Bella's father, Joe, Rochelle would later admit to him that Michael McCarthy had killed her daughter, and the pair had discussed whether or not they would go to the police. Though neither one of them did before Michael Sprinsky had. Joe would also come forward and say that he believed that Rochelle would never hurt Bella. He was under the impression that what Rochelle had said was true, that Michael McCarthy had sedated her for days. He claimed this was because he had seen track marks on her neck and knew that she couldn't have done that on her own. Though unlike her son, Bella's paternal grandmother believed that Rochelle was heavily involved in Bella's death. And she openly questioned the truthfulness of the allegations that Rochelle had made towards Michael. Patricia Quinn, Joe's mother, Bella's grandmother, had not seen her granddaughter since 2013 and hadn't been sure if the pictures of baby Doe were indeed Bella. It wasn't until September 17th, over 3 months after Bella had been murdered, that Rochelle said she was finally able to run away from her boyfriend, Michael McCarthy, while he was in the hospital. She would also admit to authorities that she should have told them about Bella's murder sooner, and claimed that the reason why she had told her friend Michael Sprinsky finally was because she knew he would believe her. Given the situation, I don't think it's very hard to believe. And I think that quite a few people probably would have believed your story, and that's just bullshit. When police spoke with Michael McCarthy, he denied killing Bella. In fact, he denied even knowing that she was dead. However, he was still charged. Rochelle would also later receive an additional charge herself of larceny, after it was found that she had accepted nearly $1,400 in welfare benefits following Bella's death. Both Michael and Rochelle were arraigned in court on September 21, 2015. Rochelle was given a $1 million bond, and Michael was held without bail. Then in February of 2017, a prosecutor on the case suggested that Bella's mother, Rochelle, be awarded with her time served in exchange for her testimony against Michael McCarthy. This decision was made considering the allegations that Rochelle had put forth about Michael threatening to kill her if she said anything about her daughter's death. So on February 10, 2017, she pleaded guilty. And she was credited with time served plus 2 years of probation, which is complete horseshit. Michael McCarthy would end up going to trial for Bella's murder in June of 2017.
2 years later, and Bonnie Flynn still can't erase what she found along the rocky edge of Deer Island.
I seen 2 legs come out folding. They just came out like that. I looked away, thinking that it wasn't real.
The Winthrop woman was walking her dog on a Thursday afternoon in June of 2015 when she found a laundry bag containing the body of a little girl, later identified as Bella Bond.
I asked if he can call 911 because I just found a dead baby on the beach.
Flynn's emotional testimony was the first heard in Michael McCarthy's murder trial.
It was the defense's strategy to blame everything on her mother, Rochelle. His lawyer would object to claims made by Rochelle's defense lawyer and stated that his client had no knowledge of Bella's death and there was not sufficient evidence to prove that he did have anything to do with it. Furthermore, they argued that Michael had moved out of the apartment that he had been sharing with Rochelle prior to Bella's death. According to them, Michael had left because Rochelle was very emotionally and physically abusive towards her daughter. Also, at the time of Bella's death, the defense claimed that Michael McCarthy had a broken collarbone, making him pretty much disabled. They were also pushing the narrative that Rochelle's statements couldn't be confirmed, and she had a long history of lying and drug abuse. There was also the fact that the autopsy had not found that the little girl died from a blow to her stomach, as Rochelle claimed. It was believed that Rochelle had actually just fabricated her entire story in order to avoid punishment herself. However, it was discovered that Michael had sent Rochelle a text message soon after Bella's death that said, "Don't tell them you have a daughter. We don't want the Department of Child and Family Services getting involved." But the prosecution was claiming that Rochelle had nothing to do with her daughter's death. She had only helped Michael to cover it up because he had threatened to kill her. She had only stayed in the relationship after that because she felt trapped by his abusive behavior and her drug use. They also brought up the fact that Michael had been obsessed with the occult and demons. But according to the defense, it was actually Rochelle who was obsessed with demons and Satanism. Michael was actually a good father who had cared for Bella, they said. An entry from Rochelle's diary that was written in the summer of 2015 was also read aloud in court, and in it she wonders why so many children go missing and are never found. She had then written that it was, quote, because the leaders of every country get together and torture and rape and kill these innocent children each year, just so they can drink their blood and eat their flesh, so that these reptilian demons can have a moment's sanity. Other text messages and journal entries were found that Rochelle had written after her daughter's death, and in these, she speaks about Michael affectionately. Then, a lifelong friend of Michael's would take the stand, and he spoke about how he had warned Rochelle of the potential danger that she might be in after entering into a relationship with Michael McCarthy. Michael's friend explained that this was because he knew Michael McCarthy had a dark side, and often researched topics such as demons and satanic rituals. Michael apparently also believed that he had the ability to expunge demons from people. Michael Sprinsky also emotionally testified during the trial.
Did you recognize anything in the photo?
Yes, I did.
Mike Sprinsky was a key witness for the prosecution at the trial. When the jury went out, he and Laura waited every day for the verdict.
Michael McCarthy is guilty of murder in the second degree.
Finally, when it happened, I just broke down. I couldn't believe it. I was like, oh my God, did I hear what I just heard? They said guilty, and then I just hugged my brother. The emotions were so high.
The trial brought the tragic story of Bella's death to a close, but the story continues for Mike. Since he learned of Bella's death, he's been sober. He wanted to make sure he could testify for Bella.
Anytime I ever thought of doing something bad or using, I thought of Bella. All my friends are dead. And the day I found out, like, that was basically like my destiny in life was to be there to speak on her behalf.
He still can't bear to think about how Bella suffered, but every single day she's with him.
Thank God I was able to take something good out of that. And I know one thing, I'll never forget Bella as long as I live.
Thank you. She gave me my brother back. I didn't have my brother for a very long time.
Then it was Bella's mother's turn to testify, and she recalled how when she had met Michael McCarthy, he seemed like a nice person who was good to her daughter. She said that she had invited Michael over to her apartment one day in January of 2015 so they could use drugs together, and then he just never left. The mother also claimed that when she had first seen the baby doe photos on TV, she had been at Joe Amoroso's parents' house, and when she had seen police's photo of the zebra blanket, she'd fallen to her knees crying. But while she was on the stand, Rochelle would change parts of her story that she had previously told police, which made her look rather guilty. She also contradicted something that Joe had testified to, which was that Rochelle had told him she wrapped Bella up in a blanket following her death. But Rochelle testified that she blacked out and didn't know what happened after Bella had been killed.
He punched her in the stomach.
Where was she?
Laying in the bed.
How would you describe the force of that blow?
I don't know, I just saw her bounce off the bed.
What do you mean when you say bounce off the bed? Did she actually come off the bed?
Yeah, she bounced.
But did she bounce up and then come back down on the bed, or actually bounce off the bed?
No, she bounced up and came back down.
Her whole body? Did she react to the, other than her body bouncing, did she react to the punch at all?
No.
What did you do?
So I think I yelled, what did you do?
Is that exactly what you yelled?
What the f did you do?
And did he respond to you?
He just kind of looked at me.
How?
Like, whatever.
What did you do after you asked that?
I grabbed her, and she wasn't breathing, so I tried to do CPR. I said, what the f did you do? You f***ing killed her. And he said, no, it was her time to die. She was a demon.
He said that?
Yes.
Other than that, had you had any conversation with him between the time of that she was killed and the time that he threw the shoes down?
No.
When he injected you in the neck with heroin, I just want to be clear on this, is that something that was, well, he didn't force you, he didn't forcibly inject you with heroin?
No.
When he put his hands on your neck and said he'd kill you, what's the next thing that happened?
I blacked out.
Do you know how long you were blacked out for?
I don't.
When you came to, where were you?
On the couch.
In the living room?
In the living room. So I got up and he had me by the arm and he brought me outside.
Where to?
His car was there.
Where was it?
In front.
Was it day or night?
Night. It was dark.
Do you know what time?
I don't know. It was really dark out. I mean, it was dark out.
Could you tell by traffic or anything else?
There was no traffic.
What happened when he took you out to the car?
So he opened the door for me to get in, and he went around to get in the front. And when I looked in the back, I saw my green duffel bag, and I could see her thigh through it, like it was her in there. And I screamed something, I don't even know what it was, and then he hit me. And
Where did he hit you?
head,
Or you're indicating the side of your head?
yes,
Where on the side of your head?
like about here.
Do you know what he hit you with?
I don't know, his hand.
The thing is, there was no physical evidence that pointed to Michael McCarthy being solely responsible for Bella's death. There had been no blood found in his car and no fingerprints linking him to the murder. But Michael McCarthy would still end up being found guilty by a jury. And he was convicted on 2 lesser charges instead of his original charge of first-degree murder. He was found guilty of second-degree murder as well as involuntary manslaughter. And on June 28, 2017, he was sentenced to life in jail with the future possibility of parole. He'll be eligible in 2037, and Michael still maintains his innocence.
Did you kill Bella?
Never. I never harmed a hair on her head. You know, she was a beautiful, happy, healthy little girl.
Did you think Bella was a demon?
Of course not. She was a beautiful little girl.
Guilty of murder in the second degree.
They needed to put this on somebody.
As for how her body ended up in the water,
Did you have anything to do with that?
My attorney doesn't think it would be a good idea to get into anything specific like that.
Bella! McCarthy claims Bella may have died accidentally, taking her mother's prescription medication.
The pills are pink, you know, in color, and Bella had a pink fluid in her stomach. Bella didn't get justice first off because they never even determined what happened to her, and I definitely didn't kill her. So she didn't receive justice. Rochelle Bond clearly didn't receive justice because she committed perjury, and she's out walking around, and I'm in prison for a murder I didn't commit, for a murder that didn't even happen.
Following the trial, Rochelle Bond would violate her probation in May of 2018, even though she should have been on her best behavior and extremely happy that she wasn't in jail. Apparently, this probation violation had come after she tested positive for marijuana and cocaine. Following Bella's death, Governor Charlie Baker also ordered that the Department of Child and Family Services be looked into. And the Office of the Child Advocate found that a DCF worker had actually copied a report from 2006 regarding Rochelle's older children, when they'd been writing reports about Bella in 2012 and in 2013. That worker just received a formal written warning in December of 2015. That's it. And Joe Amoroso, who had never met his daughter, would say about her, "No justice on earth fixes this. Bella was, still is, and always will be in my heart and soul. Yet he'd never met her, and didn't report her death after Rochelle had informed him about it."
Patricia says she found out what happened on television the next day.
I was watching the breaking news, and Bella came on, and Rochelle was sitting there and said, "That's my daughter, Bella."
Bella's father says he heard the confession the night prior.
You must have been completely blindsided, but you waited, and you didn't come forward. You didn't call authorities.
I didn't have to. The authorities were all over the investigation. The warrants had already been sent out.
District Attorney Dan Conley.
He certainly should have picked up the phone and done something earlier, but from a criminal responsibility point of view, there aren't statutes that would, be applicable here.
Of course I have regrets. Absolutely. I could have done things differently.
When the news had originally broke about Bella being identified, the community gathered to honor the Dorchester girl who never even made it to her 3rd birthday. A candlelight vigil was held in honor of Bella on Deer Island on Monday, September 14, 2015. The Massachusetts Water Resource Authority, located on Deer Island, dedicated a bronze plaque to the little girl, just feet away from where Bella's body had been discovered. The group raised $3,800 for the memorial and for Bella's future burial. The plaque read, "For reasons we may never know, an angel came to our shore, causing us to shed a collective tear. May she rest in peace and never be forgotten." Some funds that were left over went towards her burial, and the New England Casket Company also donated a custom-made casket for her. Initially, family members had planned to hold a public funeral service for little Bella, but instead, her burial was private at Rochelle's request. It would be held on November 28, 2015 at Winthrop Cemetery. She was buried next to her great-grandmother. The public did, however, have an opportunity to say one last goodbye to the girl they had once known as Baby Doe, when a service was held at St. John the Evangelist Church on Winthrop Street following her funeral. Well, thank you for listening to Bella's story today. I absolutely believe that Rochelle had more to do with her daughter's death than she told everyone. And she got let off far too easily, especially considering there was no physical evidence proving that Michael was the only one who had killed the child. Not that I don't think he was capable of hurting her. I definitely think he had something to do with it. But I think it was more of a joint effort by him and Rochelle. And she was not forced into doing all these things out of fear. Because if she had, she likely would have made her escape from Michael sooner than almost 3 months after her daughter's death. But what do you think? If you like true crime and you want to hear it from me, then don't forget to hit that subscribe button below. And turn on your notifications too, so you'll know when I upload a new video, which is at least twice every single week. Thanks for watching A Wicked World today. Until next time, take care, guys. Bye. Thank you to all the patrons of A Wicked World. Now, there's even more of A Wicked World on Patreon. So check it out at patreon.com/awickedworld or use the Patreon app. You'll have access to exclusive videos each month and more. Any support truly helps to make sure the victims never get forgotten and to highlight the shortcomings of society associated with each case. Do you have a suggestion for a case you'd like to see me cover? If so, send me an email at awickedworldtruecrime@gmail.com.